Blocked. All right, y'all. First and foremost, give our praise to the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and his son, Hamashiach Yahushua, we know as Jesus Christ. Give a salute to all the brothers and sisters teaching this word with sincerity and charity. We going over something very milky, something very Sunday schoolish. But it's still some things we can glean from. You know, sometimes you have to look back over these things you think, you got to refresh your memory. And, sometimes we have new eyes. We can look at things a little different. Or we can see some things that we haven't seen. Should be a brief class today, man. We're just going to go through 1 Samuel 17. And replay the whole story. I'm sorry about smacking it all in y'all ear and stuff, man. Deal with the story and glean a few things that that I've seen in here that could be problematic, but I'm gonna show y'all how we get around it. Well, not to get around it, but show you the truth of the matter, and show you some intentions that you may not have seen in David. Some David, but David's a young kid, man. David's a teenager in this thing. Shalom, sis. This is Alicia in the building. But like I say, man, this thing should be pretty brief. It's only about 8 slides, so we don't have to be here all day. I'm gonna give people about another minute or so, and then let me go ahead and crank this thing up. They just catch them on the replay. 1 Samuel 17. 1 Samuel 17. Here we go. All right, man. We're gonna go ahead and crank up. All right, y'all, go to 1 Samuel 17, verse 1. It says, "Now the Philistines gathered together their armies to battle, and were gathered together at Shokah, which belongeth to Judah, and pitched between Shokah and Azekah and Ephes Damim. And Saul and the men of Israel were gathered together and pitched by the valley of Elah, and set the battle in array against the Philistines. And the Philistines stood on a mountain on the one side, and Israel stood on a mountain on the other side. And there was a valley between them." All right, and so you can see, this, you can kind of picture this thing, you got one army on one mountain, you got another army on another mountain, and they were gonna get at it in the valley, meet down there in the valley. And there went out a champion out of the camp of the Philistines named Goliath of Gath, whose height was 6 cubits and a span. And he had a helmet of brass upon his head, and he was armed with the coat of mail, and the weight of the coat was 5,000 shekels of brass. And I know some brothers teach that there weren't no giants, or they weren't no big people, and the giants really meant something else, or they was renowned people. Do that with the Nephilim also, but it gives you the height there. It tells you that it was 6 cubits in the span, and I've seen people say different things, 8 feet, 9 feet. And I've even seen even the 5,000 shekels was with the weight of his coat of armor is crazy also. And he had greaves of brass upon his legs and a target of brass between his shoulders, and the staff of his spear was like a weaver's beam, and his spearhead weighed 600 shekels. All right, so the spearhead weighed 600 shekels. I seen somewhere that said that was like around 15 pounds. So if you can imagine somebody throwing a spear in the spear of the tip of the spear weighed 15 pounds. You're trying to throw it to 15-pound weight. You got to have some immaculate strength to in order to do that. And then it said, so if the 600 shekels weighs about 15 pounds, they say his armor weighs 6,000 shekels. So, that you can multiply that pretty much, or 5,000 shekels. You can still multiply that by 10, and it's around 150 pounds. You got 150 pounds of metal on, and you throwing a spear of armor on, and you throwing a spear. And if you ever was at the gym or anything, or you play sports, especially as a dude, you 150 pounds on your back ain't nothing light, man. You can do the squat. That's like a plate, 145. You can put one plate on the bar. And women can do that, but you're not gonna be walking around fighting. You're not gonna be walking around fighting and you're doing your day to day with 150 pounds on your back. You gonna do that? Shalom, brother Dion.
Shalom,
we had 1 Samuel 17 and verse 8. And he stood 1. 1 Samuel 17 verse 8.
Okay, 17.
And he stood and cried unto the armies of Israel and said unto them, why are ye come out to set your battle in array? Am not I a Philistine, and ye servants to Saul? Choose you a man for you, and let him come down to me. If he be able to fight with me and to kill me, then will we be your servants. But if I prevail against him and kill him, then shall ye be our servants and serve us. And again, too, this servitude, shalom, brother Eleazar.
Hey, shalom, fam.
This servitude ain't nothing new, man. It's not nothing new. That's like when you go into battle, you're gonna either, if you win, or if you lose, it's two things gonna happen. You either gonna die or you gonna go into servitude. So Goliath is telling them, hey, man, y'all come on out here. And if you can find somebody to kill me, man, we'll be slaves to you. And if we kill y'all be slaves to us. Verse 10, and the Philistine said, I defy the armies of Israel this day. And the Philistine said, I defy the armies of Israel this day. Give me a man that we may fight together. When Saul and all of Israel heard those words of the Philistine, they were dismayed and greatly afraid. Now David was the son of that Ephraite of Bethlehem, Judah, whose name was Jesse. All right, David was the son of that Ephraite of Bethlehem. All right, and so I ended up going down a rabbit hole with this. I'm like, wow, that sounds a little crazy. David is the son of an Ephraite of Bethlehem, Judah, whose name was Jesse. I say, wait a minute, man. I know Jesse ain't no darn. Jesse not no Ephraite. Jesse ain't from Ephraim, is it? So you had to look into that. And you have to check certain things. Man, I cannot see that mess. Ephraite, it's no. Well, you see 8673. It's a couple of other verses here that have that kind of same Ephraite. meaning Ephraim. Um, you got Judges 12:5. It says Jephthah captured the shallow crossings of the Jordan River, and whenever a fugitive from Ephraim tried to go back across, the men of Gilead would challenge him. Are you a member of the tribe of Ephraim? They would ask. If the man said, no, I am not. But that Ephraite is 8673. It is substituted for Ephraim also. All right, Ruth 1 and 2. It says the man's name was Elimelech, 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 and his wife was Naomi. Their two sons were Mahlon and Chilion. They were Ephraimites from Bethlehem in the land of Judah. And when they reached Moab, they were settled there. All right, so when you're seeing that, it sounds like these are Ephraimites that I guess sojourned in Judah or sojourned in Bethlehem, in the land of Judah. And that's a couple more examples there. This is the Ephraite. This is the what they call that, man? The root word. All right, the root word here, ash heap. And Ephraite means, ashiness, fruitfulness, means pretty much the same thing. We see here's a proper locative noun, a place near Bethel where Rachel died and was buried. And it's another name for Bethlehem. All right. It's another name for Bethlehem. And you got one where a wife of Caleb is named Ephraite. And we got to understand too, and we'll look at Rachel's tomb and go into that, but we understand too that there ain't a lot of names in Israel. Even amongst us, when we giving names or giving ourselves names, we don't, it ain't a lot of names. You'll see it's probably about, I've seen about 15, 20 different Venuses. 15, 20 Eleazars. You know what I'm saying? So it's not many names. These names get recycled. And all these names have certain meanings, and they're named after certain lands, so forth. And time changes. These things get named different things. And so we just got to be mindful and careful of that when we're seeing certain things. Or somebody come up to you with that and try to tell you, well, Jesse is an Ephraimite, and show you that it may look that way, or to say that Naomi's husband was an Ephraimite from Bethlehem. But let's look at a couple of precepts to try to get a location on Rachel's tomb, because we know Rachel's tomb was at Ephraite. I already done told y'all pretty much the answer, but we just gonna go through the motions and to show the methodology and show why we just saying that, not just based off of other Strongs. Genesis 35:19.
This is Genesis 35:19. And Rachel died and was buried in the way of Ephrath, which is Bethlehem.
Game over, really. 1 Samuel 10, 1-3. 1 Samuel 10. Ephrat is another name for Bethlehem. All right. 1 Samuel 10, 1-3. But we gotta understand too, things are written at different times. In cities, names change. You could get conquered in your city, and the name could change. And you know how many times we done got conquered, man. Go ahead, Doc.
1 Samuel 10 and 1. Will we bring down to 1-3?
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, but we may just need to.
Then Samuel took a vial of oil and poured it upon his head and kissed him and said, it is not because the Lord have anointed thee to be captain over his inheritance. When thou art departed from me today, then thou shalt find 2 men by Rachel's sepulchre in the border of Benjamin at Zelzah. And they will say unto thee, the asses which thou wentest to seek are found, and lo, thy father hath left the care of the asses, and sorroweth for you, saying, what shall I do for my son? Shilaki. Then shalt thou go on forward from thence, and thou shalt come to the plain of Tabor, and there shall meet thee 3 men going up to God to Bethel, one carrying 3 kids, and another carrying 3 loaves of bread, and another carrying a bottle of wine.
You had some, brother Michael?
Oh, shalom, family. Oh, I didn't have anything.
Oh,
Shalom.
shalom, Mark.
Oh.
But the really what we wanted to glean from that is, you know, you're gonna find 2 men by Rachel's sepulchre in the border of Benjamin and Zelzah. And just the fact that Rachel's tomb is a marker, you know, mean people had a certain reverence for it. And you go back through the history and stuff, man. Rachel was buried there, and Leah was buried with Jacob. And you see something else here in Jeremiah 31:15. You know, that we may just be looking a little too deep into it, but it may say some things. I don't know, you know. I ain't telling you how to think, but it was just interesting to me. Jeremiah 31:15 through 17.
Hey, Shalaki, I grabbed the next slide.
Jeremiah 31:15. And it reads, thus saith the Lord, a voice was heard in Ramah, lamentation and bitter weeping. Rahel, weeping for her children, refused to be comforted for her children because they were not. Thus saith the Lord, refrain thy voice from weeping, and thine eyes from tears, for thy work shall be rewarded, saith the Lord, and they shall come again from the land of the enemy. And there is hope in
Shalaki, go ahead.
And there is hope in thine end, saith the Lord, that thy children shall come again to their own border.
And I have to look. I have to look to see and look at those kids, because it could be, you know, saying Rachel's kids, but initially, you know, when I read it, I'm like, well, it could be, you know, why is it saying Rachel's kid when it was Rachel and Leah? And Rachel really only had a few kids, really. And really it was them other 2, it was them handmaids too, but those kids belong, you know, even through the handmaid, it belonged to Rachel and Leah. And could this be talking about, but then when you rereading it, I'm like, man, could it be talking about the was her kids just the northern kingdom? But I think she had Benjamin. I have to go back and look into that. But this is quoted in Matthew chapter 2, verse 16 through 17. I read it real quick. It says, then Herod, when he saw that he was mocked of the wise men, was exceeding wroth, and sent forth and slew all the children that were in Bethlehem and in all the coast thereof, for from 2 years old and under, according to the time which he had diligently inquired of the wise men. Then was fulfilled that which was spoken by Jeremiah the prophet, saying, in Ramah was there a voice heard, lamentations and weeping and great mourning, Rachel weeping for her children, and would not be comforted because they are not. And so it's interesting, man. You know, when I read that, it gotta be all. It's just this. It kind of gotta encompass all. I would feel it encompasses all. But that's neither here or there, man. You know, that was just something for y'all to think on, look at, investigate a little more. We'll look a little more into Rachel's tomb just to see where that Ephrat is. It said, well, we read the precept where it was, or the correlating verse where it was saying that it was on the border of Benjamin. All this in the red is Benjamin. Um, and Judea is up under here. You see the red is Benjamin kind of going over Judea, and Judea coming across. You'll get a better look here. In this other one, you see Judah, and then you see you can see Benjamin right above it. And if you can see it, I don't know if you can see it because I can barely see it. But Jerusalem's in there. Like Jerusalem's in the center, almost center bottom of Bethlehem. I mean, in Benjamin actually, and Bethlehem is kind of right on that border. It's the first word above Judah. Right before you get into Benjamin, and you say her tomb is on that border, headed to Bethlehem. All right, but ultimately, we just tried to establish there was that Ephrat was a Bethlehemite. Ephrat and a Bethlehemite, or Ephrat and Bethlehem, are interchangeable. I'll go back to Shalaki. We go back to I'll go to the slide. Let's go back to 1 Samuel 17 and finish up this story with David and Goliath.
God. This the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 21, verse 1.
No, don't read that. 1 Samuel 17. Give me 1 second. I'll see if I can pick up where we was at. Hey. Oh, I'm in 2 Samuel. My bad, y'all. We're talking about that and Philistine of the fire.
Is it 10, verse 9 or 10?
Yeah, let's just start at 10. Well, no. Let's just start at 10. It was 13, but we start at 10, no problem.
This is the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 10, verse 10.
No, 1 Samuel 17, verse 10. Come.
1 Samuel chapter 17, verse 10. And the Philistines said, I defy the armies of Israel this day. Give me a man that we may fight together. Then Saul and all Israel heard these words of the Philistines, that were dismayed and greatly afraid. Now David was the son of that Ephraite of Bethlehem, Judah, whose name was Jesse, and he had 8 sons. And a man went among men from an old man in the days of Saul. And the 3 eldest sons of Jesse went and followed Saul to the battle. And the names of the 3 sons that went to the battle were Eliab, the firstborn, and next unto Abinadab, and the third Shammah. And David was the youngest, and the 3 eldest followed Saul. But David went and returned from Saul to feed his father's sheep at Bethlehem. And the Philistines drew near morning and evening, and persisted himself 40 days. And Jesse said unto David his son, take now for thy brother an ephah of this perched corn, and these 10 loaves, and run to the camp to thy brethren, and carry these 10 cheeses unto the captain of their thousands, and look how their brethren fare, and take their pledge. Now Saul and they and all the men of Israel were in the valley of Elah, fighting with the Philistines. And David rose up early in the morning and left the sheep with a keeper, and took and went, as Jesse had commanded him. And he came to the trench as the host was going forth to the fight, and shouted for the battle. For Israel and the Philistines put their battle in array, army against army. And David left his carriage in the hand of the keeper of the carriage, and ran into the army, and came and saluted his brethren. And as he talked with them, behold, there came up the champion, the Philistine of Gath, Goliath by name, out of the armies of the Philistines, and spake according to the same words. And David heard them. And all the men of Israel, when they saw the man, fled from him and were so afraid. And the men of Israel said, have ye seen this man that is come up? Surely to defy Israel is he come up. And it shall be that the man who killeth him, the king will enrich him with great riches and give him his daughter and make his father's house free in Israel. And David spake to the man that stood by him, saying, what shall be done to the man that killeth this Philistine and taketh away the reproach from Israel? For who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God? And the people answered him after this manner, saying, so shall it be done to the man that killeth him. And Eliab, his eldest brother, heard when he spake unto the men. And Eliab's anger was kindled against David. And he said, what camest thou down hither? And with whom hast thou left those few sheep in the wilderness? I know thy pride and the naughtiness of thy heart, for thou come down that thou mayest see the battle. And David said, what have I now done? Is there not a cause? And he turned from him toward another and speak after the same manner. And the people answered him again after the former manner.
Shalakia. So, David goes down there to take the bread and the cheese and try to get some news on how things are going out there on the battlefield for his father. And as they running down there shouting, getting ready to go to battle, David's running down there trying to see what's going on. And Goliath comes out. Everybody's afraid. Everybody's and there's news that whoever can kill Goliath will receive a reward from the king. His father's house will be fully paid for. You'll receive a wife from the king. Will put you into that. Will put you into that royal lineage a little bit. You'll be in the palace. You'll be, and you're gonna be rewarded. And once David's brother heard him, David asked about 3 people, man, 2-3 different folks about that reward, man. He had to ask about 2-3 different people. Man. What? Tell me again. What he gonna get a person who kill him? What do I get for killing him? What does the person get? And the brother called him out, man. He was like, the older brother was like, Eliab was like, man, listen, I know your heart, man. I know your pride. And I know the naughtiness of your heart. I see another translation for that, insolence. May need to look that up. Insolence of your heart. And pretty much, man, I know you down here trying to start some mischief, man. And you had that little brother. Like I said, David, some say is a teenager, 13, 14 years old, 15 years old. And I know you finna trying to get yourself in some mess, man. I know your heart or whatever, so forth. And I know you're not down here for the right reason.
It's like it.
Go ahead, brother.
I got the definition for that insolence.
Read it for me.
Impudence, cheek, bad manners, rudeness, disrespect, boldness, brand, insults, bad mouthing, back chat, hide, crust. The list goes on, man. So yeah, he was bold. Y'all scared of this cat?
Right. And disrespectful. He probably do that. Being the youngest, I think he said Jesse had 8 older sons. 3 of them went to battle. And he probably, sometimes them youngest be the roughest, man. Because they got them older brothers they've been roughing with, and especially as they get better, he ends up getting better. He ends up learning stuff faster. And it just came a point. I guess David, man, I do it. Don't you can just imagine, man. That youngest brother coming down there and you finna fight him. You know what I'm saying? We down here and you finna go fight and we finna sit back and eat the cheese and bread while you fight this giant. Go
Mm.
ahead though.
Verse 31. And when the words were heard which David spake, they rehearsed them before Saul, and he sent for him. And David said to Saul, let no man heart fail because of him. Thy servant will go and fight with the Philistine. And Saul said to David, thou art not able to go against the Philistine to fight with him, for thou art but a youth, and he is a man of war from his youth. And David said unto Saul, thy servant keeps the father's sheep. And there came a lion and a bear, and took a lamb out of the flock. And I went after him and smote him, and delivered it out of his mouth. And when he arose again against me, I caught him by his beard, and smote him and slew him. Thy servant slew both the lion and the bear, and this uncircumcised Philistine shall be as one of them, seeing he have defied the armies of the living God. David said, moreover, the Lord that delivered me out of the paw of the lion and out of the paw of the bear, he will deliver me out of the hand of this Philistine. And Saul said unto David, go, and the Lord be with thee.
So you know when David's coming down there, Saul already know. You know he can already tell that man you should be out here, man. You know I don't want you out here. I don't want you getting hurt. I don't even want you to attempt this, man. And you shouldn't do this. He knew that David shouldn't do that. You know, it was just what David's doing is pretty much suicide. That's how he felt. This is suicide.
Hey, it's like it.
Go ahead, Doc.
But man, you could tell David going in at their point. He like, man,
Yeah.
I don't slew the bear, the lion. Like, who is this cat? This uncircumcised Philistine. Even if he was talking about heart, or he could see under his garment. Like, man, I'm finna kill this man. But I
Yeah. Nah, you're absolutely right. David is insistent. And this is that pride. This is that pride. And you see what he said first was what he did. Then he said, you know, the Most High, you know, the same Lord that delivered me out of these things, he's going to deliver me this uncircumcised Philistine also.
And
it too. Go ahead, brother.
No, go ahead. Go. I'll wait till you finish the point.
And the you know, the preparation, you know, him being, you know, prepared out there in the wilderness, out there with those sheep and having to have those battles, you know, going through with the bear and going through with the lion and going through with the darn, you know, being delivered. And, you know, ultimately till he gets to the point of having to battle this Philistine and giving the glory unto the Most High. And a lot of us want to be David. A lot of us want to get that glory of conquering or get that moment of, you know, conquering a giant, but we don't want to go through the bear and we don't want to go through the lion. A lot of us are fainting. A lot of us are growing weary, you know, doing the preparation battles, during the training for your Goliath moment. A lot of us run. A lot of us run from the bear and run from the lion. And so definitely when you get to that, because you ain't go through that, you probably ain't even gonna have the confidence to deal with that Goliath moment. You know, you're not gonna have what it takes to get through that Goliath. And so that's something there also that we can glean from that, is that, you know, we have these certain situations, or we have certain trials, or we have certain things that we're going through. You know, sometimes these things are preparing us for bigger moments. And that's even in, you know, even in business. I see somebody was saying, I seen a video where a brother was saying, man, if you can't operate in chaos, you know, it's just not for you, man. You know, once you learn how to do that, once you learn how to operate in chaos, then, you know, things just get a lot easier. A lot of things that don't bother you, you know. So certain problems come up, you say, okay, this is what I need to do to fix it. and I can just move on. But you know, if you don't never go through nothing, then these little things can send you off a cliff, man. You know, make you fall into a great depression, and you thinking you just in the worst. You know, just woe is me. Go ahead, Ashalaki.
Yeah, kind. Hey, shalom, family. And it's another time. Another thing you can glean from David is his age. When you young, sometimes not all times, but for the most part, when you're young, you be more fearless. Like you don't count the cost. And so I remember a situation when I was young. And these dudes came up to approach my brothers, and I'm sitting up there, man. My brothers and them, they count the cost. They coming to the house, and I'm sitting up there, I'm salty. I'm like, man, we need, man, let's just deal with these niggas, man. Why y'all sitting up there talking to these niggas, man? And, it was like my former language, but this was my mindset, right?
Right.
But when you're young, man, you be fearless, man. You remember like jumping on, climbing trees and riding on bikes and riding a bike from one end and coming to the other end and hitting a ramp. But then as you get older, you start counting, man, I could break a leg, man. So that age sometimes bring a certain fearness, man. I mean a certain um what's the word I'm looking for?
Fearlessness.
Fearlessness, the water, right? And so,
I know.
yeah, that age, I think also, man, sometimes you don't even look at the consequences, brother. And not you.
Yeah, absolutely. I seen this thing with it. I seen this video with this kid. These children were bringing these snakes in, bringing in poisonous snakes. You know, they would just grab the snake and like it was a toy, and bring it in the house, and everybody in the house is scattering. They can't get. They don't want to get the snake. They too scared to even get the snake out of the child's hand. They just trying to tell the child to, to drop the snake, but the child just don't. Like you said, they don't know the cost. They don't know. They don't really know that danger. They haven't been programmed with that yet. They don't know, that I can break something if I fall off of this and so forth. So yeah, that's a great point. David, like I say, some people saying he's 13, 14, 15 years old. Yeah, that Joker, and like I said, he already known for it. He already known for it. But yeah, he running out there. He ain't counting that, man. He just know that he know what he done been through, and he know he ain't took no L. He took no L at this point, man. Where we was at? Verse 38, Con.
And Saul armed David with his armor, and he put a helmet of brass upon his head. Also, he armed him with a sword, with a coat of mail. And David girded his sword upon his armor, and he essayed to go, for he had not proved it. And David said unto Saul, I cannot go with these, for I have not proved them. And David put them off him. And he took his staff in his hand and chose him 5 smooth stones out of the brook, and put them in a shepherd's bag, which he had, even in a scrip. And his sling was in his hand, and he drew near to the Philistine. And the Philistine came on and drew near unto David, and the man that bare the shield went before him. And when the Philistine looked about and saw David, he disdained him. And he was but a youth and ruddy and of a fair countenance. And the Philistine said unto David, Am I a dog that thou comest to me with staffs? And the Philistine cursed David by his gods. And the Philistine said to David, Come to me, and I will give thy flesh unto the fowls of the air, and to the beasts of the field.
Shalaki. So David, and that's another lesson there, man. You can't walk in everybody's shoes, man. You can't. I know sometimes we look at certain folks, man, and we want to teach like them, or we want to do what they do, or we want to drive the same cars as we see these other folks drive, or we want to, you got to walk in your gifts, man. You know what I'm saying? Everybody don't have the same gifts. And you can't fight your battles the way everybody else fought their battles. What worked for me may not work for you. What worked for you through your battle may not work through, for me in my spiritual battle. So we have to evaluate that. So they trying to give David this armor, man. I'm like, man, I can't do what I need to do in this, man. I already know what I'm doing. I already know what's been proven. All right, I've already tested this stuff on a lion and a bear. All right, he got his shepherd staff, and he got a sling, and he picked them up 5 smooth rocks. They had to be smooth. All right, had to be 5 smooth rocks, and he's running after this Philistine. And this Philistine, like the text said earlier, he has on 150 pounds worth of armor. He got a spear that the tip of the spear weigh 15 pounds, and they just telling you all of this because of the, your protection. Like you feeling secure, with these you feel secure in your armor, in this worldly armor. And it's just showing you, it's making a greater gap between the two. Where I always say this is an underdog story, but it's making this story even more triumphant. Just the fact that David don't have no armor on, and this joker here got a shield, a spear. He got it on his back. He got it on his what they call that, man? The bottom of your legs.
Oh, the shin guard.
The shin guards. He got the shin guards on. Probably got bracelet. He got all this stuff on, and David's out here with nothing on, and ain't got nothing but a staff and a slingshot. Running at this joker. And not only that, he like, man, what am I, a dog? You coming at me with some sticks? What you trying to, like, what you finna throw it? You finna play fetch? Like, what you doing, man? And you this little bitty, this little pretty boy, man, coming down here running at me, man. And then the last straw was he disrespecting, he cursed David, trying to use some pagan deity that they were worshiping. You can keep on going.
Verse 45. Then said David to the Philistine, thou comest to me with a sword, and with the spear, and with a shield, but I come to thee in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom thou have defied.
See the difference? You coming at me with all of this armor and all this stuff. I'm coming with the God of Israel. That's what my faith is in. It ain't in this. It ain't in that armor. It ain't into all of that other stuff, man. And we just got to know where to place our faith, man. We got to know, when we trying to go into these battles and understand, man, Israel, it was the Most High. That's why they feared us.
That's right.
It was not Israel, man. These jokers scared to death right now. They letting a little 13-year-old take care of a war for them. They letting a 13-year-old fight a giant, even his brothers. And his brother's sick after this. Go ahead.
46. This day will the Lord deliver thee into my hand, and I will smite thee and take thine head from thee. And I will give the carcasses of the host of the Philistines this day unto the fowls of the air, and to the wild beasts of the earth, that all the earth may know that there is a God in Israel.
That all the earth may know that it's a God in Israel, man. I'm taking your head. Go ahead,
And all this assembly shall know that the Lord saveth not with sword and spear, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hands.
That's the key verse. That's the key verse there. And all this assembly shall know he don't save with sword and spear. All right, the battle is his. We be forgetting that. The battle is his. It's not ours. It's not, oh man, we I ain't gonna say it, but it's his, and he will give you into our hands. He gonna do it.
Shalakia.
Go ahead.
And that's what, when you glean from the text, that Romans 13, I think verse 18, this is what the first century Jews was trying to relay. Paul was trying to relay that same message about vengeance is the Lord, he will repay. And sometimes we forget. We forget that, like, we say we trust in the Lord, but do we? Like, but do we? And that, and yeah, brother. I don't want to get too far off the beat, but
No. You good?
point.
We got 8 more verses. This is all we going over is David and Goliath. We're going over a few things with the sword and all this other stuff, but yeah, it's just 1 or 2 more slides.
But yeah, but so that's what I'm saying. When you see that faith, and that Hebrew saying, without that type of faith, it's impossible to please the Most High. And I know we looking at it from a carnal standpoint of war, but our biggest war is with sin, and we can't even defeat sin. We can't overcome sin. You know what I mean? With the Spirit, with the Ruach Kodesh, with everything that was left behind to give us a comfort space to be able to overcome these things. And brothers like, man, I can't have sex in the kingdom. Then call me carnal. Come on, but I yield, brother.
God. But very important, man. Master key verse. That verse 47 is the verse of the moment with this class. 48.
And it came to pass when the Philistine arose and came and drew near and drew nigh to meet David, that David hasted and ran toward the army to meet the Philistine. And David put his hands in his bag and took thence a stone and slang it and smote the Philistine in his forehead, that the stone sunk into his forehead, and he fell upon his face to the earth. So David prevailed over the Philistine with a sling and with a stone, and smote the Philistine and slew him. But there was no sword in the hand of David.
And that's what the writer trying to give you. Is that, man, this man did this with a smooth rock, man. But this was done through the Lord, through David with a rock, man. He ain't had no sword. He ain't had no great armor. He ain't had no, he a child. And he done slung this thing and destroyed, and he looked like he was doing it on the run. Looked like he was running while he
ran at him. Yeah.
He was on the run while he did it, man. He shot a runner at Philistine with that rock stuck in his head, man. Go ahead.
Therefore David ran and stood upon the Philistine and took his sword and drew it out of the sleeve thereof and slew him and cut off his head therewith. And when the Philistines saw their champion was dead, they fled. And the men of Israel and Judah arose and shouted and pursued the Philistines until thou come to the valley and to the gates of Ekron. And the wounded of the Philistine fell down by the way of Sharim, even unto Gath and unto Ekron. And the children of Israel returned from chasing after the Philistines, and they spoiled their tents. And David took the head of the Philistine and brought it to Jerusalem, but he put his armor in his tent. And when Saul saw David go forth against the Philistine, he said unto Abner, the captain of the host, Abner, whose son is this youth? And Abner said, as thou soul liveth, O king, I cannot tell. And the king said, inquire thou whose son the stripling is. And as David returned from the slaughter of the Philistine, Abner took him and brought him before Saul with the head of the Philistine in his hand. And Saul said to him, whose son art thou, thou young man? And David answered, I am thy servant, Jesse of the Bethlehemite.
All right, Jesse the Bethlehemite. And so, that again answers that, Jesse was a Bethlehemite from Judah. Not a F, but the Ephraimite, same thing. All right, but it's not talking about Ephraim there. Okay, but Ephraim can be called an Ephraimite also. I just don't want to confuse you. We see too. David took. He cut off his head, and he put the armor of Goliath in his tent. He took the armor and put it in his tent. It was like, why did he do that? But let's look at and the sword. We see the sword coming back in 1 Samuel 21. We'll see that sword again. We'll see Goliath's sword. And this is just contextual wise, David and Saul end up getting into it. Saul kind of got a little jealous of David and how his name started getting ringing bells. And so you got a split here. David's running from Saul.
1 Samuel 21.
1 through 9, yes, sir.
And it reads, Then came David to Nob, to Ahimelech, the priest, and Ahimelech was afraid of the meeting of David, and said unto him, Why art thou alone, and no man with thee? And David said unto Ahimelech, the priest, The king hath commanded me a business, and hath said unto me, Let no man know anything of the business whereabout I send thee, and what I have commanded thee. And I have appointed my servant to such and such a place. Now therefore, what is under thine hand? Give me 5 loaves of bread in my hand, and and what and what there is present. And the priest answered David and said, There is no common bread under my hand, but there is hallowed bread. If the young men have kept themselves at least from women.
And Shalaki, what is he saying there? I ain't got no regular bread. The same, but this is hollow bread. This is holy bread. And in order for you to eat this bread, you need to at least keep yourself from women. All right. Go ahead, brother.
That's the priest bread, ain't it, brother?
That's the priest bread. Yeah, that is the priest bread. And you'll see how it's like doing, mentioning this also when they tried to bring, I think it was when they tried to bring him up on saying he broke the Sabbath for eating the corn. And he was saying how David was able to go in here and eat this bread and not die. Also, can if you willing to go down, this can take you in the rabbit hole with David also being king/priest. All right, and why he didn't die, but that's for if you want to go through that study. Information is out there for that premise also of why he didn't die, or why God didn't kill him eating that bread.
Verse 5.
Verse 5, come.
And David answered the priest and said unto him, Of a truth, woman have been kept from us about 3 days since I came out, and the vessels of the young men are holy, and the bread is in a manner common. Yea, though it were sanctified this day in the vessel. So the priest gave him hallowed bread, for there was no bread there but the shewbread that was taken from before the Lord to put hot bread in the day when it was taken away. Now a certain man of the servants of Saul was there that day, detained before the Lord, and his name was Dio, an Edomite, the chiefest of the herdmen that belonged to Saul. And David said unto Ahimelech, and is there not here under thine hand spear or sword? For I have neither brought my sword nor my weapons with me, because the king's business required haste. And the priest said, The sword of Goliath, the Philistine, whom thou slewest in the valley of Elah. Behold, it is here wrapped in a cloth behind the ephod. If thou wilt take that, take it, for there is no other save that here. And David said, there is none like that. Give it to me. Give it me.
So we just went through that to we see Goliath's sword, why he kind of took the armor. We gonna see another hit, but the armor's in a sacred place, around the priest, around the showbread, probably in the tabernacle. So it's they preserved it. It's not something that it's almost like they put it in a museum, pretty much. Like it has some reverence to it. That sword. And we'll see another reason why also in 1 Samuel 13, 19 through 22. And we see also that Don Doged the Edomite, if you continue to read on about that story, of course the Edomite sold David out and got Elimelech killed. I think he got Elimelech killed because he told Saul that he gave him the bread and the sword.
This book of 1 Samuel chapter 13 verse 19. Now there was no smith found throughout the land of Israel, for the Philistines said, lest the Hebrews make them swords and spears. But all the Israelites went down to the Philistines to sharpen every man his share and his coulter and his axe and his mattock. Yet they had a file for the mattocks, for the coulters and for the forks and for the axes, and to sharpen the goads. So it came to pass in the day of battle that there was neither sword nor spear found in the hand of any of the people, and that there were with Saul and Jonathan. But with Saul and with Jonathan, his sons, was there found.
All right, so only Saul and his son had any armor or any swords. Everybody else, there was no smith in Israel at the time, didn't know how to make weapons. And so they had to rely on the Philistines. And of course, this is before they went into the ultimate battle. But they were relying on the Philistines to do these things for them, to sharpen their axes, to sharpen their hoes, to sharpen their mattocks, or all their farming equipment. Whatever they needed sharpened, they had to do that through the Philistines. And so when they got certain armor and they got the opportunity to get a sword or to get something like that or get weaponry, of course they were gonna do it and take those things. And so this is to add on to why David, tried to hold on to that armor of the Philistines. And not only that, but you seen once they start running away, that Israel chased them and raided their tents also, and grabbed that stuff out of there. But we had a reliance, and this can be pivotal. This can, like I said, we have a reliance, just like today we have a reliance. There's no smith in Israel today. Ain't nobody making no guns. There ain't nobody making no. You can't buy no bullets from an Israelite. All right. So we have a certain reliance where we have to buy these things from. But ultimately, man, our battle is not with spear and swords. It's not a cardinal. It's not with cardinal weapons. We put our faith in the Lord. That verse 47. And ultimately it's his war, his battle, and he'll give us the victory. I yield with that, man. If y'all brothers, wait, I may have another precept. What is that? Nope, that's a negative. So I'll yield with that. Yeah, with that, man. If y'all brothers got anything, go ahead.
Yeah, so like I was just doing my research, reading that 1 Samuel, and it said he was what, 6 cubits? So, if you look at a cubit today, that's 1.5 foot. So if my math correct, Goliath was a little over 9 feet, man.
That's what I was saying earlier. That go ahead, Shalaki.
I just can't imagine 2 more feet on Shaq. You know, Manute Bowl. You know, you'll be looking up at them, man. That's a tall man. You know, that's a big person.
That's a giant, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
That's a
But yeah,
giant.
I just thought,
Yeah, no, that's a giant. I can't imagine seeing Shaq.
Hmm.
You know, especially, you know, as short as I am, man. You know, I used to in high school, man. It was jokers 6'7", 6'8", and these jokers, you know, bowing their head up on every door, having to duck down up under every door. Like it's, you know, I can't. Them jokers look like giants to me. 6'6", 6'7", 6'8". That look like a giant to me. But 7 foot, 7'3", 7. What's that joker? It's a new joker in the NBA, man. He like 7'6" or something.
Manute Bowl was 7'7".
Manute Ball was 7'7".
Yeah. Yep.
And all them folks like that. But see, that's, you know, I'm telling you about them. But like I say, man, it's a doctrine. Brothers don't believe in the giants. It's a precept in there in the text. It talks about this bed, man, this giant's bed. It was like 10 feet. Let me see if I can find that precept. Anybody else got anything?
Hey, Shalakia, man, good lesson, brother. And like you say, man, you know, this stuff is not really for the carnal eye, man. It's you know, the Most High, man. The Most High is able to do what He want to do when He want to do it, brother. You know, and so sometimes we try to put the Most High in the pigeon, like in a pigeon hole, but you can't. He's the creator of the heavens and earth, man. You know, He can, you know, so He can make somebody 20 feet tall if that's what He chooses to do. You know what I mean? And so sometimes we cannot perceive it, or it's beyond our perception. Sometimes we just don't have faith that it could ever happen. So, but good lesson, brother.
That precept is Deuteronomy. Somebody can pull that for me. Deuteronomy 3:11, and we'll close this thing out. The water, man. All praise.
It's the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 3, verse 11. But only King of Bashan remained of the raiment of giants. Behold, his bedstead was a bedstead of iron. Is it not in Rabbath of the children of Ammon? 9 cubits was the length thereof, and 4 cubits the breadth of it, after the cubit of a man.
So, well, he said his bed was 9 cubits. They said Goliath was 6.
God.
Yeah. So they just a bed, man. What, like 14 feet?
13 feet and like over 4 foot wide. The man was over 4 foot wide at the chest and 13 feet tall.
And had to get that joke a metal bed.
God.
So it was something like some giants out here, man. I don't know, you know. It's something, and it's some giants out here today, man. These jokers, like I say, them jokers over there. It's a couple of them tribes over there. Them Sudanese. I forget they call them Nialic. Now something dealing with the Nialic, something like that. Tribes. Y'all remember that movie, The Air Up There?
Con.
Yeah, that brother comes from one of those tribes. All them tall like that. Go ahead, brother.
The tallest man alive today is called Sultan Kosin. He's 8 feet 2 inches.
Yeah.
Turkish farm.
Yeah. And probably moving around. Good, you know, man, this stuff ain't even a false stretch. If you got somebody 8'2" now, it ain't, you know, 9 foot ain't even miraculous. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, we yield with that, man. I said, man, we pray this thing was edifying. I know it was Sunday school milky, but sometimes we got to go over these things and you know, glean from whatever we can take from these things. Sometimes we overlook stuff. Sometimes, you know, we just don't have the eyes to see certain things. But you know, I know we think we know these things, but we got to go over them, especially even for the people who may not have, you know, ever read the story of David and Goliath. But again, man, pray this thing was edifying. We'll see y'all it's Friday on Bring It Out TV, y'all willing. And y'all be blessed, y'all. And see y'all on the next one.
Shalom.
Shalom.
Hello.